Hi! Now you have a good understanding on what yoga is and how we need to take in consideration the way we live nowadays and how our body has been changing and has been impacted by these changes in our world. Most of all, we now understand that this modern body needs to be treated and approached in a quite unique manner. Now, it's time to dive deep into our bodies. More specifically, dive into our remarkably brilliant, amazing, fantastic nervous system. We could talk about the nervous system for hours, but basically, this fantastic system sends messages to the whole body and receives information from the environment as well as from our bodies. It's basically divided in central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. This system is a highly complex and sophisticated structure. In our method, one part is highly important, and we have to understand of this particular side of the nervous system a little bit more. This is the autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system works integrated with the central nervous system, and mainly it controls things that we should not be aware of all the time. It controls things like our inner organs in the way they are working. This system basically controls or regulates organic activities. It keeps our body's homeostasis in many ways. This system is also divided into the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. Imagine you are walking on a street and suddenly a heavy, large object drops right on your side and you jump. You jump, your heart pounds, your breath changes, and instantly you were sweating. All that happened because you've noticed a threat. Sometimes you are able to perceive the environment and something moving away before you see it with your eyes. All that because we have this first line of defense. This happens because the sympathetic nervous system kicks in to protect you and to make you able to react, to run, to fight, to protect yourself in all possible ways. It's automatic. Sympathetic nervous system. When we are faced with a threat of any kind, whether physical or emotional, our sympathetic nervous system automatically and involuntarily triggers reactions such as increased heart rate, high blood pressure, heightened awareness, high respiratory rate, and sweating. Journal of Chiropractic Medicine. So everything happens very rapidly, but for you to be ready to protect yourself, it's a fight or flight reflex, fight or flight mode. Everything is about you being rapidly ready to react. Also, is this heightened awareness. I like to stress out this point because we rarely notice that this hypersensitive awareness might be linked to our system being on sympathetic for too long. Parasympathetic nervous system. It acts to slow down certain responses and bring a calm state to the body and to the mind. allowing it to rest, relax, and recover. Parasympathetic responses include increased digestive enzymes, decreased heart rate, constriction of the bronchi in the lungs, and relaxed muscles. Also, Journal of Chiropractic Medicine. It's a rest and digest, or as I prefer, a growth and repair type of state. So, the parasympathetic mode counteracts the sympathetic mode, and we definitely need both, and they gotta be balanced. Nowadays, the modern adult human beings, most of the time, tend to be operating locked only in sympathetic mode. This is what's been happening in our society lately. And this is creating lots of health issues, lots of mental issues and physical issues as well. It's very common to see people chronically overbreathing, with the blood pressure skyrocketing, the heart racing most of the time, constantly worried about things, real things and imaginary things as well. And all this is a consequence of operating most of the time in a sympathetic mode. We've been losing our capacity to change gears. We've been losing our capacity to relax and to go back to balance. When we are not operating in balance, our chemistry changes. And this is why I consider that nowadays yoga is more important than ever before. Because nowadays relaxing is like a longevity pill. We know that yoga has a direct consequence in the regulation, in the modulation of the autonomic nervous system. Yoga has been proven to be a way for you to slow down your sympathetic nervous system and to turn on your parasympathetic nervous system. It happens in only one class, according to some studies, and also it has a cumulative effect if you practice yoga for a long time. So, short-term and long-term practices will impact positively your cortisol, your heart rate, your oxygen consumption, and even your metabolic health. Quite often, students come to me and they, in a way, expect something magical to happen, or they take a few classes and they say that something magical has happened. That is the impression we all have when we first start taking yoga classes. Although there's no magic, this method just focuses on nervous system regulation. Very intelligently, that is our main target. We want to have our students and ourselves learning how to be balanced in our autonomic nervous system. And we know by science that this is doable. So that is our main target. And this is why it feels so magical. Just don't get me wrong. We are not learning to control the autonomic nervous system. We should not even try that because it is an independent system. We do things that will have a positive impact and the system will be regulating itself. So, the idea is to build a practice that takes these systems into consideration, into account, seeking through joint stimuli, neural reconnection, and maximum respect for the nature of the body, restoring health and promoting quality of life. This is what the Kaiut Yoga method seeks, a conscious and very consistent practice based on a perspective of knowledge of the body and how it operates. Knowing where we came from, knowing our basic nature, knowing how we function, we just stimulate the system for the system to respond with more life energy, life force, with more quality of life and equilibrium. In our next class, we will continue this exploration of the scientific side of the method, talking about neuroplasticity and the way our brain can reshape almost everything and how we'll be using that rerouting capacity in our practices in our favor and in favor of our process of evolution and development.